Okay, so greetings everyone. We're now continuing with our videos in psychological statistics, and now we're going to talk about the types of variables. So mainly about quantitative and qualitative variables. So let's first talk about qualitative or categorical variables. In some books they call it categorical. These variables have these attributes that are mostly, or all rather, all are in terms of categories or levels. For example, shall we say sex as a noun? Just want to make that clear. That is in terms of categories because it has two options. You either are a female or a male. I'm talking about biological sex, okay? Not the gender type of thing. Okay, a gender you may put into LGBTQ if you want, but when you say sex, it's a biological thing, so you're either male or female. Okay, since you have two options there, we call that, or we consider that data as dichotomous. Okay, dichotomous data. What else? Examples of qualitative variables. We can put into consideration types of personality tests. So this is also in terms of categories. So you may choose one, the Myers-Briggs, the Caliper, ASENS, or if I mispronounce that. But these are the types of personality tests. It's multinomous because it has a lot of options there. Of course, if it's dichotomous, you have two options, trichotomous, three, multinomous if there's a lot. Letter C, importance of attending a university to land a good job in the future. So this now is in terms of levels. Since you're considering strongly agree, neither, disagree, or strongly disagree. So categories, shall we say, categories, they are considered to be equal. For example, male, female, they're considered to be equal. Myers-Briggs, Caliper, they're considered to be equal. Alright? So they are in different attributes, but they're considered to be equal. It depends on you what is the proper option for you. But here, for levels, they are not considered equal. Okay? So strongly agree is pretty much stronger than agree. Strongly disagree is pretty much stronger than disagree. So there are levels which are being considered here, not only categories. Some important remarks to put into consideration. Some of it I said already. Categories versus levels. Categories does not possess intrinsic order. Hence, I said they are all considered equal. In levels, they possess intrinsic or order within them, like strongly agree, disagree, neither. Wherein there is an order from one category to the next. One important thing as well, just as a remark, categories and levels must be, number one, exhaustive. When you say exhaustive, it should cover all possible answers. This is one important thing when you're starting to create your questionnaire or your survey questionnaire for research, if you're doing a quantitative survey type of study. Say you want to ask the gender, not the sex this time, but the gender of your participants. And if you want to consider gender, there's more than two genders. It's not only male, it's not only female. You will consider lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and such. So, in order for your questionnaire to complete all the different categories or levels that you want to get, it should be exhaustive. It should cover all possible results. Okay? That's why one tip, if you're not sure yet if your questionnaire is exhaustive, you should always put, at the end of the last option, others, comma, please specify. And then there's a blank. Okay? So that's actually one hint or one clue for everybody. If you're not sure that if it is exhaustive, your options are exhaustive, you put others, comma, please specify the blank. Also, it should be mutually exclusive. How do we mean by mutually exclusivity? You should make sure, as the creator of the questionnaire, you should make sure that the categories or the levels do not overlap in order to ensure that the respondents provide only one answer. So in short, you need to make sure that your options are not confusing. Okay, it should not be confusing. In such a way that your respondents would only choose one answer. One common mistake there is that, for example, you're gonna ask the age of your respondents, and one of your option is, say, 10 to 20. Option 1, 10 to 20. Imagine that, please. 10 to 20. Number 2 option is 20 to 30. Now, if I am 20 years old, which will I choose? 10 to 20 or 20 to 30? Alright? So that's one thing to consider. It should be mutually exclusive. There's no confusion for the participant's point of view, which will I answer? They should be exclusive. No commonality for each of the options. Okay, so again, categories and levels must be exhaustive and mutually exclusive. We're going to make use of these definitions in a while, so I hope you put that in mind. The second type of variable we'll have is the quantitative, or in some books they call it numerical variables. These variables are now attributed or attributes that are in terms of counts and measures. So since it is attributed in counts or measures, we divide them into two distinctions. One is what we call a discrete variable, and the second one is a continuous variable. To make the long story short, counts is connected to discrete variables, measurements are connected to continuous variables. Now let's have that one by one. So first, let's consider quantitative discrete variables. Maybe we can call it directly as discrete, since quantitative is quite confusing because it has two options. So we have discrete variables. How can we generate data? By making use of counting, making use of the process of counting. We count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. So we count to determine the data. It is in terms of whole numbers only because, my goodness, we don't count in decimals. And for instance, the number of t-shirts owned, you counted 1, 2, 3, I have 3 shirts. A number of clients of a certain psychology center, okay? And number of registered psychometricians in Bacolod City. Because it would be frightening if we have 2.3 clients or 4.7 clients, okay? So we only count the number of heads, the number of people, so we don't measure them, okay? So everybody, this is a discrete variable. Second one is continuous, quantitative continuous variables, so we can just simplify that into continuous variables, shall we say. We gather or generate data by measuring, okay? We measure. And usually, since we're measuring it, it comes with units, of course, and it may have fractional or decimal parts, okay, since it's being measured, for instance. Say we have weight of a package, volume of water, temperature, and age of patients. Okay? So some of you would say, that, hey, sir, we don't measure the age, we count them. But actually, what is the unit of age? It's years, right? Year is 1 unit of time. So actually, if you say that you're 19 years old, 20 years old right now, you're not exactly 20 years old. You're 20 years old, how many months, how many days, how many minutes or seconds. So when you're being asked your age, you actually round it off to the nearest ones digit or to the nearest age. But actually, when you count the age of a patient, count the age of a person, it will deal with the months and the days in actuality. That's why age, since it's time, so we measure time. Okay, we don't really count time, we measure it with precision. Now let's have this review exercises for everyone. So the instruction is classify each variable using the appropriate terms from the following list. It's either going to be qualitative, continuous, or discrete. So we have 5 options here. Let me read it once, one by one. A, weight in grams of tomatoes at a grocery store. B, number of times a person checks their email per day. C, political party, if any, that a person voted for in the last national election. D, voter participation in the past national elections as per percentage. E, daily temperature in degrees Celsius for the last August. And F, letter grade A, B, C, D, or F that an English 100 class received on their essays. So we're going to answer this. We will get back to this exercise, and I think it's due time to end the video right now. Thank you very much.